Antony of the Desert, sometimes known as Antony the Great, wasn't the first of the Desert Fathers, but he certainly became the most famous. And that was partly because of a biography of his life that became a sort of viral bestseller in its day. He was born in the year 251 AD here in Egypt, and he just gave up everything that he owned, he left everyone that he loved, and he moved out into the desert really because he just wanted to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, and he wanted a life of prayer. Word began to spread about Antony's radical faith, and people were attracted and fascinated. They came seeking his counsel and his prayer, and ultimately thousands of people were inspired to follow Antony's example. His fame grew until even the Roman Emperor Constantine, the most powerful man in the world, wrote to Antony seeking his advice and his prayer. Unimpressed, Antony challenged Constantine to focus less on the glory of this world and more on things eternal. But Antony could also be quite pastoral, quite caring, and in fact, his biographer Athanasius said of him, it was as if a physician had been given by God to Egypt, for who in grief met Antony and didn't return rejoicing. It's kind of like going to see a spiritual doctor. Antony's dramatic battles against demonic attack and violent temptation, particularly his struggles with apathy and lust, captured the imagination of artists down the ages. In 15th century Italy, Michelangelo painted the torment of St. Anthony when he was just 12 years old. In 19th century France, Paul Cézanne depicted Antony's struggles. And in 20th century Spain, Salvador Dali depicted the scene too. Antony's impact down so many centuries is particularly remarkable because his message was really very simple. Wherever you go, keep God in mind, he advised. And whatever you do, follow the example of Holy Scripture. Simple stuff. And then he added, wherever you are, stay there and do not move away in a hurry. And if you keep to these guidelines, he said, you'll be safe. But of course, this kind of radical obedience to the simple way of Jesus is never as easy as it sounds. And it had certainly been costly for Antony himself. His parents died when he was just 18. And shortly afterwards, he heard the words of Jesus in Matthew 19:21 saying, go, sell all that you have and give to the poor. Antony immediately did it. He obeyed. He sold the significant estate that he had just inherited from his parents. He gave the proceeds away to the poor. Now penniless, Antony gave himself to prayer, eking out a simple existence beside the village graveyard. Under the guidance of a local hermit, he also reduced his diet to just bread, salt, and water once a day, and regularly fasted even that. Challenging. In the year 285 AD, craving even deeper solitude, Antony relocated to this region, the wilds of the Nitrian desert. But wherever he went, people sought him out. For 20 years, Antony just refused to see anyone at all. But eventually, in the year 305, he agreed to bring some basic instruction and leadership to the informal colony of hermits which had formed around him. And for this reason, Antony of the Desert became known as the Father of Monks, because he was the first to establish any kind of structured praying community. Mind you, his monastery today is far grander than it would have been in Antony's day. It's more like a self-contained village with its own gardens, a flour mill, a bakery, and no fewer than 5 churches within its walls. There are many stories about Antony's life which, contrary to what one might expect, highlight his earthy pragmatism and his grace. One of my favorites describes a hunter who was shocked to come upon the great holy man whilst relaxing and laughing with other monks. "Fire an arrow," Anthony told him, then another and another. The hunter objected. "Yeah, if I bend my bow so much, it'll break." And to this, Anthony replied, "Yeah, it's the same with the work of God. If we stretch the brethren beyond measure, they will soon break. Sometimes it is necessary to come down to meet their needs." This story, I suppose, makes me wonder about my own life. Am I a little overstretched at times? Am I even close to breaking whilst in the Lord's service? Might He be inviting me today to rest my bow? Anthony died on the 17th of January 356 at the ripe old age of 105, and he was buried by his followers according to his instructions in a simple grave right next to his prayer cell. But his legacy lives on. It lives on in the phenomenon of monasticism. It lives on in great works of art, and it lives on in sayings that still speak powerfully to us today. "A time is coming," he once predicted, "when men will go mad. And when they see someone who isn't mad, they will attack him saying, 'You're mad, you're not like us.'" Words like these, from an unlikely place like this, somehow do speak with prophetic power to the supposedly sophisticated world in which we live today.